Warriors, rise. It is much worse than I thought, Warriors. I'm going to break this down for you guys. Now, this is not a fear tactic. I'm going to take you step by step. This is going to be a longer video. Again, Warriors, if you're a true warrior, do not click off this video in a minute. Go all the way through. I'm going to take you all the way from the petrodollar all the way to where we're at now. And I'm going to show you the connecting dots all the way to where we're at and exactly where we're going. We spend 8 to 9 hours a day researching with our research team. You can meet them at the 8 o'clock crypto show right here on this channel. This is not a game, Warriors. I highly recommend you join our community, the 3T Warrior Academy. 3twarrior.com, or click the description down below to get into the free Discord. Access to my portfolio, exit strategy, 130 cryptocurrency courses, 7 calls per week. We are building a community of people rising together to help each other into this quantum financial system. Okay, so we're going to break this down. Okay, so I'm going to narrate this whole thing. I'm going to go step by step. Now, what I need you to do is I need you to pay attention. We're going to go through this. We're going to watch a couple videos. Okay, I'm going to do it as quick as I can, but I'm going to slow my speaking down because I really need to tie this together. What is happening right now? Let me start at the end and I'll back up, okay? What is happening right now? We're in a high interest rate environment. The liquidity is slowing down. They're wiping out the middle class leverage towards technology. They are moving into a digital dollar. We're moving into zero carbon, okay? Every single move they're doing is showing us exactly where we are going. So I'm going to take you back to 1945, and this has been planned for a very, very long time. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the petrodollar system. So the petrodollar is any US dollar paid to oil exporting countries is exchanged for oil, okay, in exchange for oil. The dollar is permanent global currency. As a result, most international transactions, including oil, are priced in dollars. Oil exported nations receive dollars for their exports, not their own currency. So key takeaways: 1945, U.S.-Saudi agreement created the petrodollar. The purchasing power of the petrodollar relies on the value of the U.S. dollar. The shift from oil to other renewable energy sources could threaten the petrodollar. So very important right there. The shift from oil to other renewable energy sources could threaten the US dollar. Okay, so this was put in place. This is how methodical they are. In 1945, this was for protection for the Saudis, okay? So America's like, hey, we're going to put you on the petrodollar. So basically the commodity that is the largest traded commodity in the world, right? Oil, we need it for everything. They literally attach it to the dollar, okay? Then about 25 years later, they decide to detach the dollar from gold. So this allowed them to turn the printing machine on full blast. Okay, now what you need to pay attention to, we're moving to renewable energy. The US dollar is on the verge of collapsing and losing its dominance, and it's all by design. It's methodically planned out, Warriors. I want you to picture America, Russia, and China as the big bullies, right? They just push the other countries around, and they're going to move the power from American dollar to another currency or a global currency. Okay, this is not pie. This is not tinfoil hat stuff. This is, I'm going to break this down for you. Okay, so remember 1945 petrodollar. Key is to educate yourself. I'm not asking you to trust a word I say. I'm asking you to trust the feeling and vibration it creates in your body and act accordingly. Okay, so remember 1945 petrodollar. So everything in oil is traded in the US dollar. Okay, Nixon ends convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold and announces wage price controls. So here's why he did it, or why he says he did it. Okay, it's kind of a janky audio, but listen to what he says. Some of the key factors.
Element in building the new prosperity is closely related to creating new jobs and halting inflation. We must protect the position of the American dollar as a pillar of monetary stability around the world. In the past 7 years, there's been an average of one international monetary crisis every year. Now, who gains from these crises? Not the working man, not the investor, not the real producers of wealth. The gainers are the international money speculators. Because they thrive on crises, they help to create them.
He literally just said it. They thrive on crisis. They help to create them. He's telling you the exact game plan. Listen to what he said. But nobody's paid attention. So they don't teach people in school economics.
Not the investor, not the real producers of wealth. The gainers are the international money speculators. Because they thrive on crises, they help to create them. In recent weeks, the speculators have been waging an all-out war on the American dollar. The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Okay, so he detached us temporarily from the gold standard in 1971, except in the interest of stability in the United States. Well, that never came back, right? So here's what's happened since then. Since 1971, the purchasing power of a dollar now takes $7 to purchase the same thing that you purchased a dollar, what it took a dollar, okay? That's an increase of over 609%. Again, look at your wages. Has the Americans' wages gone up 609%? No, you can't even keep up with inflation. So you're not getting pay raises every year. You're actually getting a deduction in the value of your pay. So you are less valuable as a human being for the work that you put in, okay? So we got 1945 petrodollar. They locked up the dollar into oil, I believe, knowing that they were going to attach us from the gold standard. And at that point in 1971, they turned on the printing machine. Okay, so this is important to understand. Follow through with me. We hit 2008. I believe they stress tested the system. So think about this just for a moment. In 2007, 2008, people were getting non-income stated loans. I worked in banking after this, okay, after the collapse. I asked myself, who the hell was letting people get non-income stated loans? The very banks that allowed people to get non-income stated loans who were living in $1 million homes, interest only, those very banks that allowed them to do that got bailed out by the central bank, and then they foreclosed on those mortgages and took them back under inventory and put them back on the marketplace and sold them to you. Now, here's what's happened since 2008. The top 20%, the richest people in the world that have more wealth than the middle class, recovered, but the middle class did not. So we didn't recover from this collapse fully, but the rich got really rich, okay? They recovered, but the middle class hasn't recovered, okay? So 2008 falls, and then all of a sudden, just follow me on this, January 2009, Bitcoin is created. On January 2009, Bitcoin is created, and then boom, 2006, 2008, Bitcoin's created, and then the printing machine is turned on full blast. So this is quantitative easing. This is a government printing money. So this is the M2 money report. So since now we got detached from the petrodollar, Nixon turned the printing machine on, said we're not detached to gold anymore, so we can print as much money as we want. They deflated your dollar by 600% or inflated it, okay? Bitcoin was created right after this collapse. Collapsed the middle class, okay? Collapsed them. Bitcoin was created, and then more money's been printed than in history since Bitcoin's inception. Now, here's what's happened to the monetary debt to income ratio. Now, this is really important. If you're still hanging on, you're a true warrior. Okay, you got your GDP, which is gross domestic product. It's all the product services in America. If we sold them all, could we pay off our debt? As we sit today, since 1960, we're looking good. 53% debt to income ratio. If we were at a car dealership, we'd be good to go. 1980, 34%. Okay. I think that was Ronald Reagan. 2000, 58%. And now we're at 125%. So the green here is the gross domestic products at 24 trillion. The red, our debt is at 30 trillion. So we are upside down. If you go into the time machine here and I move you to 2026, at the same rates, current rates, we'd be at only 27% gross domestic product and 41 trillion in debt at 150% debt to income ratio. So you see these numbers right here. They cannot continue this. It's impossible. It's literally impossible to continue this game. Okay, so now we're sitting in 2020. A pandemic happens. They had a test or a drill in 2019, then all of a sudden by 2020, you're looking this way at a pandemic. Boom, you get shut down. You're put home at your jobs. You're losing money. They turn the printing machine on full blast. And here's what they were doing, in my opinion, with the printing machine. They were stacking assets. Russia, 2019, boom, gold purchases start to go up. Look at from 2019 to 2022. This was Russia. China, all of a sudden, 2015, 2016, they just continue to increase their gold purchases, okay? Then, as a lot of people aren't paying attention, America, or the Basel III laws, I don't know if it's, I'm not sure if Basel III, I just know about America, but Basel III is the laws for banks, okay? Basel III, there was a big change. I believe it was in, I don't want to speak out of school, I think 2020 or 2021, I reported this. Basically, Basel III, because of Basel III, does not recognize gold as high quality liquid assets as required. 85% of stable funded ratio. The enormous reduction is required funding instead of the bank holds physical gold. So basically, the bank now has to have physical gold, not paper gold, which they have a ton of, physical gold to have riskier assets. So now banks' profit margins are being squeezed big time. Okay. Interest rates are going up, but who makes money in the interest rate hike? Banks, right? So what they're doing is they turned off the printing machine. They're raising interest rates, crushing the middle class, flooding more wealth into the richest people in the world, and they're going to flood it into cryptocurrencies, blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the top altcoins. And as soon as they flip the switch, you're going to wake up and you're now going to be in a crypto-backed currency, and there's going to be a lot wealthier people. Okay, now this is where I'm going to take you to. Okay, you guys ready for this? So we talked about Basel. We talked about the petrodollar. Hopefully you're still hanging on. So now we've been deflated, right? So now here we are in 2019. Now, you guys know who Gary Gensler is, right? He is the head of the SEC. This was a highlights digital currency wars and national security crisis simulation in 2019. Okay, 2019, we hadn't even had the C word yet. Okay, now listen, this is out of school. This is a simulation. Check this out, Warriors. Okay, so we're going to hop around a little bit. I'm going to have you hear the intro. Then I'm going to take you to, this is all a scenario. Just want to make that very clear. It's a hypothetical situation. But we have the head of the SEC in this hypothetical situation. Okay, so I'm going to jump around this video, and then I'm going to share with you exactly where we're going.
On the stage tonight, you will see a live simulation of a National Security Council's Principals Committee meeting at the White House. Our scenario takes place 2 years from today, on November 19th, 2021. We have simulated a world in which one big...
Okay, super important. So we simulated a world. This happens November 19th, 2021. Think about when they talk about what they're talking about, what we're doing in 2022.
Thing has changed. In March 2020, the People's Bank of China launched a sovereign digital currency known as the digital yuan.
We're hearing reports that North Korea may be using China's digital yuan currency to evade sanctions and purchase weapons material.
Well, the digital yuan is an opportunity for the North Koreans to break free of the American hold on dollar transactions.
We're in a tight spot.
Okay, key. Okay, so I'm going to take you through that. I'm going to jump through here real quick. Okay, so that's a simulation. That's a simulation in 2019. They were simulating the digital yuan taking over and a war narrative that was pushing the yuan to take over. Look what's going on right now in 2022. And then we have breaking news again here. Where's it at? This is wild. Hold on, let me get to the breaking news. Here it is. Okay, so now listen to this, and then I'm going to fast forward to Gary Gensler, who's the head of our SEC now. Wasn't the head of the SEC during this time, but check this out. Ready?
Breaking news out of Brussels this evening. A cyber attack on SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, has resulted in the theft of $3 billion from commercial banks based in Germany, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE.
So the old...
Okay, breaking news. SWIFT system, SWIFT system, SWIFT system. Okay, so now this is 2019, remember. Now we're sitting right now in a Russia-Ukraine narrative. The first thing was the SWIFT system was attacked, Russia and Ukraine, right? Or they attacked their banks. America was working to take Russia off the SWIFT system. Now listen to what Gary Gensler says right here, and he is the head of our SEC. I got to get to the... Okay, here we go. You guys ready?
Digital currency by others, by digital currency.
Operations as well.
We have been leapfrogged by others, by digital currency, by digital Chinese currency. Why? Because, frankly, our central bank has been slow. And there's an appointment coming in January of 22. The president's got to decide whether to change over who's leading the Federal Reserve.
And how weird is that? How weird is that? The executive order came out in 2022.
The Federal Reserve runs our payment system. And I think we need to move that Federal Reserve into the modern era.
What about in 5 minutes if we hear...
Okay, So literally, this is a simulation. We're in a goddamn video game. Or excuse my language, I know people are gonna get mad that I said that. But we're in a video game. I mean, this is getting crazy. I'm literally showing you the game. Okay, here we go. So 2022, fast forward, that was a simulation in 2019. US and Europe allies moved to cut Russia off the bank SWIFT system. Literally, their simulation came true. An update to our message of SWIFT. This is the real life. That was simulation. Diplomatic decisions taken in the European Union in consultation with the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States bring SWIFT into efforts to end its crisis by requiring us to disconnect select banks from our financial services. As previously stated, we will fully comply with the sanctions and law, taking Russia off the SWIFT system. Okay, then we're going into the digital dollar project. This is America leading the discussion on U.S. central bank digital currency. The BIS Innovation Hub. Okay. Jerome Powell introduced the BIS Innovation Hub in 2021 in New York, Bank of International Settlements around moving in digital currencies. Okay, so here's where we're heading. I'm going to tell you exactly where we're heading. Basically, you need to look to see if the petrodollar is going to be challenged. As you see, it says right here, Saudi Arabia considers accepting yuan instead of dollars for Chinese oil. What are they talking about in this fake simulation? So basically what's happening is Russia, China, and America are tapping shoulders behind the scenes. They're all working together to figure out who's going to take the next hot potato and move us into a new currency. Okay, now here's what it's going to look like. I'm telling you exactly what's going to happen. You need to start to look at green, 2030, greenhouse, zero carbon. Okay, gas, solar, wind, cryptocurrencies, quantum. That's where all the investments are moving to. Quantum financial system, crypto, blockchain. Like I said, gas, solar, wind, the old paradigm, earth paradigm of oil industry is going to get destroyed. Okay. The first thing President Biden did on day one of his presidency, President Biden fulfilled his promise to rejoin the Paris Agreement and set a course for the United States to tackle the climate crisis and home abroad. You need to pay attention to the World Economic Forum. They said in 2030, you're going to own nothing and rent everything. Basically, what's happening right now, they're raising interest rates so high and all these massive hedge funds are coming in and buying up all the properties. Most people, middle class, are not going to be able to afford a mortgage. So true, you are going to rent everything and own nothing. You don't own your cell phone. You basically rent it. None of you pay it off. You get the new one. Now they do you on a contract. Your car, you do an 80-month loan. We mostly never pay them off. Our homes, we do 30-year mortgages, and now most people can't afford a mortgage. So warriors, it's time to wake up. It's time to get in the game. This is not a game anymore. You got to get involved. Get in the conversation, 3twarrior.com. I just showed you facts, figures, numbers, logic, from petrodollar all the way to what's happening right now. They are going to use the high interest rate narrative to crush the middle class. They're going to replace your jobs with technology, and we are going to move into a brand new world. This is not conspiracy. This is not crazy mumbo jumbo stuff. These are facts. They did a simulation in 2019 around the pandemic. We ended up in a pandemic. They did a simulation in 2019 around the global SWIFT system, and now it's actually happening right now. Why do they come up with these global practices or whatever? What is that? They're preparing us slowly and methodically, but we're worried about Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. We're worried about Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. So it's time to get in the game. I love you, from my family to yours, from my heart to yours. I genuinely would love you, and I just want to help you. Warriors, rise, get your shit together. If you made it this far, comment warriors down below. You're a true warrior. Let's go.